The more I drive this car, the more I miss the sort of simplistic time I had with it when it didn't have so many crazy things done to it and it was just simple to drive, didn't have many issues, and was just good to go. I know reading the title this can seem a bit backwards, but I promise there's really good reasoning for it. Now before I show you what's going to actually be replacing it, let's go ahead and pull them off real quick so it's a little easier to compare them on table. We're doing a caliper switch as well, but our rotor is actually the main difference and why we're actually really making this change. And we're going from this to this. Now a quick breakdown on both of these. These are pretty much R35 OEM GTR rotors. They're just Z1's version. So Z1 makes these rings. They might produce these hats as well, but these hats are ultimately the same hat with the same bobbin style with just their own rotor. It features directional cooling vanes. Barely. Not quite as directional as their two-piece Brembo rotors, but it's okay. And these are a 380 diameter by 34 millimeter width rotor. These, on the other hand, are a Stoptech Aero rotor, and these are actually 332 by 32 millimeters. So they're much smaller in diameter. They're also a little bit smaller in width, but their vanes are much more densely packed and extremely curved. Not sure how we'll be able to see it in there. These are also floating right. I forgot to mention these are also floating. You can actually hear these. Now, just looking at these, you can see one's obviously smaller, and with that comes weight. These are actually 7 pounds lighter than these rotors. I believe these rotors are 17.6 pounds, and these are actually 25 pounds. Besides that, these cars already do suffer from weak front wheel bearings, so I actually get a ton of pad knockback with this setup, mainly because the hub is obviously going to be the same hub, but this being so much larger, there's much more leverage to actually push the pads out into the calipers, which will give you much more pad knockback, which is another huge reason why I'm actually downsizing. Like I said, we are changing calipers as well, and these are the R35 GTR calipers. I don't care if you believe me or not, you can check the numbers stamped in there. Those will line up directly with an 09 to 11 R35 GTR. These are essentially those calipers. Z1 rebuilds them and rebrands them and sells them as their own. These are a 6-piston monoblock one-piece caliper, so there's no bolts holding these together. They're one cast piece. There's our crossover tubes and all that to get fluid across. Our pistons are also vented, which is really awesome. Bunch of cool features about these. They are an amazing brake caliper and rotor setup. They really are great, but they're just too big for my car in my specific situation. And there's a ton of reasons to have them. They're just not quite what I want at this moment. And besides the calipers and rotors being good, the pads are also massive. Pretty much the whole size of my hand for one of these brake pads, but you can see they're still getting extremely hot, which is also a little weird for my reasoning as to switching. So now that I've shown you the GTR brake setup made by Z1, let me show you what these actually replaced on the car. This is actually what those calipers replaced. This is a factory 350Z Brembo setup. Very capable 4-piston caliper. It is a 2-piece caliper. It's nice. It's pretty small actually now that I'm holding it compared to other stuff I'm used to. But these are the setups. This rotor, I believe, is a 320 by 32 mil rotor. I know inches, it's 12.75 inches diameter, and then I believe, like I said, it'd be, maybe it's 30 mil, because the minimum is 28. Typically there's a 2 mil difference from the min and new. I would typically run Z1's 2-piece rotors. They're much lighter than these. These are about 20 pounds. The Z1 2-piece rotors are 16 pounds, but they do get very hot really quickly because of their mass. As for our caliper, like I've already said, it's a 4-piston caliper with stainless steel pistons. You won't be able to see them because there are pads in this one right now. This is a very capable setup. I honestly really did like the setup when I had it. My only issue is that I was going through pads very often. I would go through pads every 3 to 4 track days, and it just didn't make any sense. That's the whole reason for switching. My reasoning worked out amazing. These pads have a whole year of tracking on them, probably 7 to 10 track events, and they still have over half their life left. So my reason for switching was solved with this kit, but like I said, now I want something closer to this, a lighter, simple setup that'll fit under most wheels, and that's where we have our new setup. So moving from our Brembo to our new setup, we have a 1/4 inch gain in diameter and a 2 millimeter gain in width. We also have a weight dropping. Even with the Z1 rotors, these are about a pound heavier, but they are a far higher quality rotor iron with better cooling. These should hold up a lot better to time, and these are also a floating design. The Z1 rotors are not floating, they are just 2-piece. And with the rotors out of the way, we have our calipers. This is a Stoptech ST40 caliper. This is also a 4-piston caliper with very similar piston sizes. These are also a stainless steel piston. These are also a 2-piece caliper, but you can see compared to a Brembo, they are much bigger. Surprisingly, I believe these Stoptech calipers are actually heavier than these, but they are only about a 2-pound difference in the caliper, but it's a 3-pound drop in just the rotor. So overall, this setup is lighter. When I got this kit, they were a heinous yellow. You could still see remains of it in here. They painted the entire kit, including all these. It looks like they didn't even take the stuff off to paint it. It looks like they left it all bolted together, painted it. The bleeders were painted yellow, the crossover tube was painted yellow. It was disgusting. I kind of wanted to take an OEM plus approach. I really do miss having the gold front calipers. I think the gold Brembos are a sweet look, so I wanted to match it. This was the closest paint I could find. It's actually pretty close looking at them now. These look a bit darker, but I'm sure with some heat, these will darken up quite a bit as well. It was a little weird. GTR calipers are also this gold from factory, but they also paint these crossover tubes. Stoptech doesn't paint the crossover tubes, so that's why I did that. But then Brembo also uses stainless steel hardware in there, which is why I have brand new stainless steel bolts in there as well. Designed to be an OEM Plus setup while being far more capable and fitting wheels and just doing everything I wanted out of my R35 kit, but without gaining as much weight. Actually, I already installed one side, but now I'm going to go ahead and install the other side and film it all. There's just no point in showing you guys both sides. But here's a quick sneak peek at the new setup. Now for arguably the most important part of a braking system, we have brake pads. And for this setup, we're not playing around. I actually got the whole kit with a brand new set of aero rotors and a brand new pair or set of Counterspace Garage C21 brake pads. I ran these on my 350Z before with the stock Brembos, and they were the best pads I've ever had in the car. They're just really expensive. One more thing to add in here, we have titanium pad shims. So these will shim between the pads and the pistons. This will prevent heat from going into the pistons, ruining the seals, and in the fluid from boiling in the calipers and just the whole system in general. Good piece, they're about $100, but they should work out really well and be just a good piece for the setup to keep longevity up. Now with this kit, I'm actually reusing the lines that I had with the R35 kit, and they are 370Z lines. They have the same mounting style. They're just a few inches longer than 350Z lines. I just didn't really want to switch them. Plus, there's another kit that utilizes this ST40 caliper, but it moves it down a bit farther and uses a 14-inch rotor, a 355mm rotor. So I wanted to be able to switch that up if I ever wanted to without having to rebleed calipers. So that's why I'm trying to reuse this line. I'm just gonna have to try and secure it out of the way, make sure it's not gonna hit anything because of its extended length. Yo. So they're all installed, they just need to be bled. I'm not going to bore you guys with the bleeding process, but I will show you. I'm going to be throwing some Endless RF650 in it. I've always used this fluid on the car. I've never had a single issue with boiling fluid or the pedal going soft or anything like that. So I'm going to continue to use it. I'm just going to pressure bleed it. Start with the inside bleeder, bleed it a couple times till I don't see any air, and then really focus on the outer bleeder. That way it can work through the crossover tube and up the caliper and all that. I'll probably also bleed the rear and just have a full, fresh brake fluid in the car. In the rear, I'm actually going to throw in some new pads as well that I've actually had sitting around for quite a while. A long time ago, I actually ran CSG pads, and that's how I found out I liked them. I have a pair of rear CSG CE1 pads that should match the C20 ones in the front really well, balance-wise. So I'm gonna actually throw these in. These actually have a good amount of life in them as well. So that's what's gonna go in them. Surprisingly, the pads in these right now are Hawk DTC 70s, and they've been in there for 2.5 to 3 years, and they've done just about every track day I've done in the car. So super impressive the life I was actually able to get out of these in the rear, but that is just probably because it's the rear. For being in there about 3 years, these still have a good amount of life on them. I would honestly run them to the metal, but like I said, we're switching to CSGs anyways. No, I said I wasn't going to post anything about bleeding this, but I had to show this because it's pretty awesome. This is a gear wrench pod OBD scanner you can buy from Home Depot for about $150. It's actually bi-directional, and it's capable of bleeding the ABS system. So what this means is you can simply crack your rear bleeder, just like so, go on your phone that's connected to this gear wrench app, do actuator up, and it'll bleed it for you. Just like that. It's pretty wild. For the price. If you guys know scanners at all, you know this is not a common thing, and if it is seen, it's very expensive. So pretty awesome to have this capability out of a little pod scanner. Well, we got the car all set up and bled well, and it's time to actually bed them in. And it is dark out, but I think that's actually the perfect time to do this. To close out this video, we can go a little bit deeper on my reasoning as to why I switched to this, and it's because I really did just like the Brembo kit. The Brembo kit worked great, it just wore down too fast, and this is exactly what I needed as a step to actually fix that problem, and that's just a slightly bigger front setup that really doesn't use a much bigger caliper. When you look at piston size, it's actually, it's 2 millimeters smaller on one of the pistons, but 2 millimeters bigger on the other piston, so it's an identical sort of split within the master cylinder, so it'll play a lot nicer with the whole brake system in general, but it also will cut down a ton on weight. This actually saves over 20 pounds from the GTR setup, and it actually loses some weight from the Brembo setup, or gains a little bit from a Brembo with Z1 setup. Going into weights again, the Z1 R35 caliper weighs 11 pounds with the rotor being 25 pounds. This weighs 17.4 pounds on the rotor with the caliper weighing 9 pounds. And then stock Brembos, it's 20 pounds or 16 pounds depending on which rotor you use. And it's about a 7-pound caliper. So it's a great setup. And I really do have high hopes for it. It also looks sick. I'm really happy with the way the gold came out. Came out great. And then what's nice too is you could actually just get a little tin of the same exact paint I used to touch it up. Because on the other side, actually, when I was bedding them, I don't know if there was fluid left in the bleeder or what happened, but some of it started to boil out and kind of chipped off the paint on the caliper, so we're actually gonna have to touch that up. But besides that, this should work great. It's actually like a competent track setup. It's not just some kit that works for the track stuff. This was designed with one thing in mind, and that's going fast and stopping the car well. I'm extremely happy about it. I really love these CSG pads, and being on them again, I love the feel of them. It's been so long since I've driven on them, and they just feel phenomenal. The way they bite, it's a more refined setup. Like the Hawks will bite really hard and they'll stop the car great, but these will kind of give you that same bite, but give you a little more feeling within the pedal when it comes to like modulation and just little things that make the car nicer to drive. I really do like these pads. They're just expensive, but they do last a while, so I'm probably going to look into keeping them. Probably also going to run some brake ducting that isn't just the brake shields. Probably actually run some tubing up there and see how that works out. But that's it for this video. I mean, I really like this setup, and I will update you guys as time goes on. I have a track day coming up in a month now, and it is a very hard track on brakes. Actually, the track I smoked the R35 brakes on, like the pads were smoking from all four corners with the DTC 60s, and I did fade them into turn 1 at one point, so we're going to see how it holds up, and I will update in future videos. But right now, we have a beautiful Stoptech ST40 kit on this car.